My dog is very happy to see you all. So how about we take refuge, and if she'll let me, and set our intention for Bodhisattva. I heard Lama Lena say I think it was on YouTube yesterday, that doing practice without the intention for Bodhisattva is no worries. Deb is, I don't think she said a waste of time, but it was pretty close to that. So remembering that, and it's one of those ironies because we tend to think there's an I and there's all of you out there. But one of the ironies is that setting your intention to be a benefit to all beings, since there isn't really, in many ways, a you and a them, it is a benefit to you, just as Tonglen, which we theoretically do for the benefit of others, is actually a very important practice for us. So anyway, that's my I and them statement. Okay. Oh boy. Please feel free to say whatever refuge has meaning for you and intention, with the wish for all beings to be free, free of the constriction and contraction caused by held belief systems and thought patterns, free of the automatic reactivity, maybe I'll just say reactivity, of learned emotional patterns, and free of distorted perception. I will always go for refuge to alive, vibrant, radiant, spacious awareness until awareness is ongoing, like the flow of a river. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the presence of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of any lineage and any time or none, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all beings. As long as space remains, as long as beings remain, may I manifest in such a way to ease and dispel the miseries in the universe. Just wanting to allow the time for people to finish their own refuge prayers. So I thought it might be nice. We'll see what happens. I often think this, but we'll see what happens. To perhaps be a little more traditional in our practice today. But it occurred to me just quickly to say something that arose, and I always need reminding of, which is, actually, I never talk about the paramitas by calling them paramitas, but the paramita of generosity, which we often take as giving things, material away, form away. But there's definitely a generosity of speech and a generosity of thought. It is a lot of fun for most of us. And if you never get caught up in it, good for you. I, I commend and respect you to talk about what's true and what's not true, and to get into a kind of gossip. Although I really hate to call it that because I'd like to think it was not just gossip. But it often is. The feeling of, and we pay tons of people, tons of money to tell us what's actually going on. Don't we, commentators? Well, teachers, we hope they know what they're talking about. There's so many newspapers, the internet of all things, where you could find anything that somebody would support as true. And I think we spent a lot of time, I will just say I had just become so aware of how quickly and automatic a judgment goes on something. I like that, I don't like that. I'm not even saying it, it's just a reactive. It's one of those reactivity things. And then uh, the evaluation. Do I like this? Do I not like this? Do I think this is true? Do I not think this is true? It's just sort of a big bill blah. When I think of generosity of in the paramita, generosity of speech is being careful with very there's a saying that the wisdom or dharmakaya should be as vast as the mind can possibly imagine, but conduct should be as, I'm going to mess this quote up, somebody might know it better than me and can help me, should be as fine as the filtering of sampa, barley, of a grain of barley. So generosity of speech is to be conscious, not just like an editor all the time, but conscious of the automatic reaction of words. Somebody said in a group the other day that a teacher that I actually have great respect for and have learned a lot from, have not met in person, had been accused of misconduct. And even as much as I intellectually, actually in this case, doubt that that is true. I mean, people are people. We do silly things sometimes. Emotionally, it's stuck a bit. A simple sentence, especially about somebody else, what they may or may not be doing, and what their intentions may or may not be, can really stick. So, generosity of speech for me is being conscious of saying those kinds of things which are evaluating things that I have no way of knowing what the truth of it is. Well, I don't know about most sites. If you use Google, whatever you Google on your search engine, I may be wrong on this, I'm not a techie, but I believe that it will automatically make a logarithm or an algorithm that will show you more of that type of thing. So you're not getting a generalized view across. I believe that to be true, but I do not know it to be true. Of things that you like or have looked at. So I guess I just wanted to bring that up. Generosity of speech is not believing one thing or another. It is not making judgments about things that I don't have the knowledge about. And anything to do with anybody else, I don't really have a knowledge about it because I'm not them. I don't know what their motivations are. I don't know what their intentions are. Sometimes it seems very obvious. And I'm not going to shut that down from decisions I make, like with my vote. Doesn't mean that I will never have an opinion. But I don't need to get involved in that. And I do sometimes, honestly, in that. Don't you think he's a jerk, or we should be doing this, or just the constant evaluation of everyone around us. So generosity of speech, perhaps being more careful about that. Generosity of thought is even harder because that's even more, in my experience, reactive. Boom. It's almost like I'm not thinking something. Something arises, boom, there are thoughts about it. But what the heck am I supposed to do about that reactivity? I can become more aware. And when I notice it, this is my practice. For a long time, my practice has been Chenrezig, which can kind of go under the automatic reactions and gently change things. And I've added Dorji Purba, Vajrakalaya, because that is the fierce aspect. And when I'm catching myself judging or making those kinds of thoughts, I do a mantra of Vajrakalaya, just one, and with the wish and intention to cut through that automatic reactivity. Just cut through it. So that's what I do. It doesn't mean, as is often said among lamas, I don't know why, obviously. It doesn't mean believing the opposite of something. Simply opening to the possibility that I really don't know. I don't know way of being doesn't rule out how I may choose to act. I don't know if that makes any sense. I may choose to support voter registration. I may choose to support programs for the homeless. I may choose all kinds of activities that I'm drawn to, but I don't have to evaluate people that are not doing that. I don't know if that makes sense. It's action rather than words, maybe would be a way to look at it. Anyway, and it doesn't mean I would not join a protest march. I just wouldn't need to talk about it all the time and rationalize, analyze, all of that stuff. Anyway, that's my little rant for today. And once I really noticed how insidious that habit is, then it comes into awareness, and I'm stunned how often it comes up automatically. Utterly stunned. Y'all may be different than me that way, so I can hope so. But I'm also stunned at how easily it is, once it's in awareness, how easily it's cut through. If my intention is strong enough. And it is all part of that describer that we all have that is telling us that most of the time, depending, I'll just speak again for myself, not so much as it used to for sure, but is describing everything around me at all times. which is a lovely way to not engage in life, but also a very painful way. Okay. Anybody has anything they need to say about that, please feel free. Otherwise, we're just going to jump into practice.
Yeah, I want to say something about that because I think that it's something I said that you're referring to in what you're saying.
Actually, not Zig, Big. It's not something you said.
Oh, okay, great. So I misunderstood.
No, not at all. No.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. No, wouldn't do that to you without being a little more direct, I believe. No, I don't actually remember who it was. I just know it wasn't you.
Jan, could you say a little bit more about how you cut through?
I use Vajrakalaya, just the mantra.
Okay.
Is when that may be on recording. I don't know, when Garchen Rinpoche gave the empowerment, and then Lama Lena gave the teaching on it, the next teaching on the Yinam, Vajrakalaya, the next day. The minute Garchen Rinpoche opened his mouth, it's like boom. It was very powerful empowerment, I will say that. And I don't really know what that means, other than it sort of opens a channel. It's all my best expression for that. So the minute I say that mantra, I really took that with a strong intention that I was done with that kind of automatic reaction to everything. Just really done. It really was so clear. And so that mantra reminds me, done. And just saying the mantra, it's just like, nope, not, I don't know. It's just cuts through it like a purva. Or punctures it, maybe. Actually, just like a balloon, it just, a balloon full of hot air. The mantra does that. Does that answer?
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, so why don't we start? There's so many different ways to come at.
Ольга, а можете перевести?
Go ahead.
Я хотела бы сегодня, да, вот чтобы более формально была практика, потому что я хотела бы освежить, да, то есть нужно освежить практику.
Jan, can you hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You can't hear, by the way, just one moment.
Ju-
If you guys
okay.
can't hear, go to English channel.
I'm in English channel, right? I am now.
Oh, no, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. So I don't know who is speaking because there's no hand raised, so I cannot see the person. And so the Russian person is asking if today's practice could be more traditional today, because she's not. It looks like she's not familiar too much with this practice and would like to learn like from basics.
Isn't that funny? That's actually what I said to begin this, that we would be more traditional. Good idea. Good idea. That's really funny how that happens so often. Perhaps that was, you bet. You bet, Larissa. And thank you for speaking up. Don't see any more hands, so how about we jump in? So, traditional is to think of a time, remember a time, even if it was just for an instant, that you might have felt that waft is a word for it, warmth, that almost a physical sensation, is it not? Of what we label love or joy or openness, open-heartedness. It's very hard to put a word on the sensation. Usually we tie it to a stimulus. Oh, I'm looking at my baby and I'm just taken with that. Or perhaps for you, it might be music, certain music that moves you in such a way. Or sunset after hiking for the day, or sunset just because the sun is setting. Perhaps looking at the stars. So many different, and they're different for all of us. A kitten that puts their little paw on your cheek. Can be anything. Lama Lena talks about the baby possum that she raised in her cleavage. And it would look up at her out of her cleavage. And she'd just go, oh, and that warmth flow would go through her. Of course, it's Lama Lena. It's not going to be the average run-of-the-mill kind of stimulus. That is said with love and understanding. So we are calling on that memory. It actually does not matter if you felt that. It seemed that you felt that for another being, or in reaction to something, response to something. Or if you had a moment where you felt that from another being. My dog reminds me all the time how much she loves me. The more we open to that, the possibility of that experience, the more it arises. We could say that, we visualize in this practice a lotus made of light, a lotus of 1,000 petals. A lotus being the flower that arises from the stinky, sticky muck of a bog of not very good, I said stinky, didn't I? The roots of the plant of the lotus are deep in the, where we wouldn't want to spend a lot of time. How's that? And out of that grows this beautiful lotus, which has the quality, I've been told, that if you throw any kind of liquid on it, it won't stick. It just runs off. And that lotus, which represents our heart chakra, the true nature of our heart. We often hold our lotus somewhat closed with the intention to protect ourselves from being hurt. And that becomes habit. Sometimes so closed that we never experience that sensation. We're just not going to feel it. Perhaps we don't even want to feel it. If we are particularly closed for a long time and someone comes along or some thing comes along or some words come along, or I don't even know what it could be, a stimulus so strong that it surprises us and we can't stay protected, we may find ourselves starting to cry without any understanding of why. Sometimes it can be a teacher. But that's just the stimulus, the experience of that warmth, that waft, that flow, whatever I can't put into words. The potential for that is actually present at all times. What we feel and attach it to, Lama Lena used this also, is like seeing the moon in a reflection in muddy water. You get a glimpse of what the moon might look like, but it's not the moon. Bodhisattva is the open-hearted, interconnected, wonderful warmth of life for life, not the form, not each form experiencing that, but the essence of all potential forms. Sambhogakaya, it has a fancy name. Aliveness. Hasn't always. And so as we start this practice, we try to call up at least a glimpse or a reflection of that openness. And we use that glimpse or reflection to nurture and water the lotus in our heart chakra and allow it to relax. Maybe just a little, maybe quite a lot. And as we do that, the lotus can open into its full 1,000-petaled splendor, if you will. As it opens, we perceive in the center of the lotus. When I say sight or see, that's very Tibetan, very visual culture, I've been told. But you may feel, sense, hear, be almost touched, perceive, all of the senses, including the yi. Smell? Don't know, maybe. Taste? I don't know, maybe. This openness. And we notice in the center, or feel or sense, 6 petals that are of different colors. And on each of the petals sits one of the seed syllables of the mantra. The mantra representing the sound of open-heartedness, interconnectedness. And we'll say it 3 times. If you know it, feel free to say it with me if you've had this, what's called lung. If you have not, then repeat after me 3 times. Om, Ma, Ni, Pe, Me, Hum. You've had this with a different pronunciation. That's absolutely fine. Not important. Om, Mani, Pe Me, Hum. Om, Mani, Pe Me, Hum. As you say that, maybe quietly here today, but when you do this on your own, allow the full resonance of the mantra, which you may experience in many different ways, but perhaps rising from deep in your belly, lower belly, and rising up to your crown chakra. A resonance, a vibration of sound. If you listen in that vibration, that sound, you'll notice that you are not only feeling it as a vibration within you, you are hearing it with your ear organ, and it is impossible to differentiate inside or outside. Sound cannot be contained within our body. Not my personal experience is the vibration cannot be contained within our body. So that is the sound of what is being pointed at, that Chenrezig, the Yidam itself, represents. That open-hearted, open lotus, the essence truly of Bodhisattva, not limited inside or outside. Boundless, not limited in any way. And as we start to say the mantra, if you are one who likes to use a mala, you can use that mala as you're saying the mantra. And for every time you say the mantra, you move one bead. You don't go over the, oh gosh, what's that called? Help. Is it the Buddha bead?
Guru.
Guru bead, thank you. And the bigger bead on your mala. You don't go over it. You simply flip your mala around and go again the other way. So I've been told that's traditional. When I met Lama Lena and Wangdor Rinpoche, I was inspired for whatever reason. I have no reason. Just occurred I would do 100,000 Chenrezig mantras. And I have the mantra that the mala, you're with me. It is said that if you use a mala, the very energy of that essence of open-heartedness will stay within the mala. And when you need that particular energy, openness, you can pick up your mala and it will help you. So a mala in the Tibetan tradition is extremely important. Also, the numbers in the Tibetan tradition are extremely important. I did eventually tell, I don't remember why, it wasn't the point of doing those 100,000 of 3 different mantras that he used to sing, Wangdor Rinpoche. It did come up in conversation, said something about the 100,000 Chenrezig one particularly, and he said, oh, that's so wonderful, now do 1,000,000. Oh, okay. Slowly, you can do these with your mala, you can do these without counting. If the counting becomes the reason for doing them, okay. And you can do them any way you want. You can sing them to the trees. You can sing them to the heavens, to the stars. You can have in your mind's eye, ear, sense that you are singing them with all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of all time, which is actually every being. But if it's more comfortable to think of them as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, sing them until that resonance of the mantra is echoing throughout the universe. It's echoing as far as your imagination can reach. The sound of open-heartedness reaches. And as we do the mantra, and it's suggested that you continue quietly to say it as we do this practice. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. The inner 6 petals start to turn. And as they are made of light and represent all light, as they turn and blend together, they become a white light. Not a static like a spotlight, but a warm, vibrant white light. in motion, not focused, as all light actually is. And as that light becomes present in the 6 inner petals, they elongate into rays of that warm, radiant light that fills our lotus completely until all the 1,000 petals of the lotus extend into rays of that warm, vibrant light. And naturally, without effort, shine out into the universe. Without limit, those rays can reach to any time, past, present, future, imaginary. Rays can reach to the edge of the universe, beyond the edge of the universe, into the multiverse. Again, as far as your imagination can reach, the rays can reach. And they will touch 1,000 beings, touching their lotus, their heart chakra, allowing them to relax that chakra, that lotus to relax completely and open into its natural essence. Again, where the same occurrence happens of the rays extending full of this vibrant white light, touching 1,000 beings, including coming back and watering, touching your lotus, your heart chakra, again and again, not with personality, not with form, with this vibrant, alive essence of Bodhisattva. And on it goes until there are 1,000 rays of light, touching 1,000 beings, becoming 1,000 rays of light, touching 1,000 beings. We can rest right there in the true essence of what is called Nirmanakaya, the interconnectedness of form. Visually, you may experience a web of light, where the intersecting parts of that web, little nodes, are the forms that believe that we're individuals. I received a beautiful email, which I may not get right, about from a friend describing this as like diamonds shining, where the nodes and the webs are so brilliantly shining. You could see that. It was absolutely beautiful. And we can rest there as refuge. You may be experiencing the sound of the mantra, not separate from the rays of the light. The vibration of the sound, interconnected within that web or those rays of light. You may have an experience of that being almost like a visceral touch of vibration, hard to put into words, shared. touching and being touched. The refuge of Nirmanakaya as it is, when we're not constricted, contracted down to protect ourselves. And it is the very essence of that web, that sound, that interconnectedness that cannot be hurt, cannot be affected or changed. And we can rest here with the perhaps heart opening compassion that will arise as we realize how few of us can rest here. Even for a moment, as the fear of being hurt arises. We don't deny that. That's a part of our human existence. We get hurt. Without this refuge, how would we ever open to anything? Or how would we completely open without conditions of how things have to be if we're going to open? Much easier to experience for a moment sitting together like this, or sitting doing our practice, perhaps with our ma. Where we don't feel threatened, don't feel we need to protect something. Hear the sound, see the light. No thing static or unmoving. Feel the vibration. All life shares this. Not the same form, the same essence. And as we continue visualizing, hearing, sensing the light of 1,000 rays of light, touch 1,000 beings. And on it goes until there are an infinite number of rays of light, touching an infinite number of beings. And there is no thing but vibrant, radiant light, filled with the sound of essence mantra, however you hear it, as the vibration. We are not looking at that. We are that. There is no thing other than that light. There is no one to see the light. No separation. You are the light. There is no thing other than vibrant, radiant light, warmth beyond description, no one to describe. If you have the good fortune to fall into this without the observer, there is no one to really notice. It's a timeless quality. There's the awareness, open awareness, unfocused awareness. Fancy name, Sambhogakaya, aspect of heart-mind. Timeless. Where all termas arise from, where all yidams arise from, not in the form in Sambhogakaya, but when needed, the very aliveness of that yidam being called forth may create the form. Where omniscience arises, not an omniscient individual, the omniscience of utterly open, spacious, unbounded awareness, aliveness. No words can even begin to describe this. And if you are lucky enough to fall in, there is no one to notice until something brings your attention back to the focus of yourself. You will come back, don't worry. The phone will ring, you'll have to pee, you'll be hungry. You know, we are in bodies here. Your body will demand your attention. Many experiences may arise. Lama Lena's favorite quote from her teacher, not her teacher, she calls him her babysitter, Lama Tupten, where she spent 3 years. His question to everybody was, what do you think your first moment of, do you think your second moment of enlightenment will be the same as your first? No thing to hold on to. Infinite awakenings. Infinite openness, infinite awareness. Awareness without self-focus, awareness without focus. The infinite, unbounded, the word is used as compassion, very limiting word. Knowing that we are this, every being is this, and yet our very need to survive appears to be having a battle with this essence. Appears, it is not actually. Tell that to your survival instinct, it does not believe. and a great swelling of open-heartedness may arise. Refuge. Of course, the minute we try to grasp it, there is our so-called individual I again. And of course, it dissolves. Ungraspable. Like sliding into a warm bath, if you like warm baths. You may experience the sensation of, the only words that have ever come are sensation of being embraced and being the embracer and being the embracing with no separation. Just words, pointers. The Thich Nhat Hanh quote, when a wave recognizes it is the water, that is enlightenment for the wave. Isn't that lovely? May, in open awareness, it may be an experience. Again, words won't go there, of unlimited spaciousness. We're going to come at that another way, the traditional way. But it may arise here because there is no possible separation between compassion and wisdom, Sambhogakaya and Dharmakaya. Never separate from for an instant, as they are never separate from Nirmanakaya, which arises from the dancing stillness, the dance of aliveness and spaciousness. You are Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya. How could you possibly be anything else? It's what form arises from, naturally. Interdependence of the three kayas. You can't pull one out and have the other two. Refuge, true refuge. Heart mind is the true refuge. For now, we bring all the light rays back into our eye. Bring all what we perceive as our eye, we bring all the light rays back in to our body, back into our lotus, our heart chakra, back into the center, the very center of that, where sits a small seed syllable of Chenrezig, spelled H-R-I, pronounced, I believe, Hri. Sits right in the center of that lotus, small, and all the light rays come back into that Hri. compacting all the aliveness, all the light, all the form back into the feet. And in a second, the tree dissolves. And we rest there. Beyond duality. Beyond up, down, right, wrong, good, bad. In open spaciousness. As open spaciousness. Dharmakaya aspect of mind, heart. Not looking at open spaciousness. Not having an idea about open spaciousness or a concept as open spaciousness. Right there. Always present. Does not come and go. Though in our form we may not notice, we may not open to that spaciousness. As we glimpse and rest more and more, 100 times a day, 300 times a day, until we're certain that as our awareness rests in that direction, open spaciousness is always there. That's a word for it. Obviously, that is not the experience of it. No experiencer. No thing to hold on to. No reference point. Beyond description. Not separate from Sambhogakaya, permeated with the potential for life. And Ola has to run. So if you have 1 minute, Ola, as our translator, let us, if we can, quickly dedicate the merit. Do we still have Ola for a minute? I can't tell. Rest right where you are, not grasping, if you choose to, not grasping, not pushing away. Allowing where we rested today to reach into the universe as it naturally will, touching all beings. No need to do anything. Thank you all for being here and doing this together. Till next time.